Adrian at JB Solutions again. Today we're going to be installing a Stinger audio amplifier on this Yamaha 222. It has the factory WetSounds HTX4. As many of you know, there is no controls on it, and it's very limited in the DSP. The gains are turned down, the crossovers are high. It will just protect the speakers. So the Stinger amp, we are not a Stinger dealer. We just chose this amplifier for this boat. Actually puts out quite a bit of power for the size of it. A little bit smaller than the factory amplifier, but you can see here, this amp is actually rated for 158 watts times 4 at 4 ohms. The factory WetSounds is 100 watts, and that's if it is tuned correctly, which we know it is not with that factory DSP. So here we have the amplifier that we'll be putting in today, and to use this we will be using our harness, and then we have our, this is our amplifier integration harness. This includes RCA cables and a remote turn-on wire, and our full amplifier integration kit includes 2 speaker output cables. This one is only going to work for the subwoofers on the HTX6 boats, so any of your 252s, 255s, any of the boats with that 6-channel amplifier or a subwoofer. So only these 2 harnesses for this kit. So let's go ahead and get this wired up, and this should not take very long at all. So I'm just taking off the speaker, pre-cut speaker leads on here. Make sure everything's twisted real well. And let's get this wired up to the amplifier. So we'll get this wired up, and what we'll do is we'll get everything installed on here, and then we'll just bring it into the cabin, into the helm, and then all we have to do is switch over power and ground from the factory amplifier, and then connect our harnesses. So if you'll see on here, they're labeled per channel: channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and channel 4. I'm sorry, I got those backwards. 3 and 4. One thing to note, channel 1 and 2 are the interior speakers. Channel 1 will be your port side speakers. Channel 2 will be your starboard speakers. Channel 3, port swim deck speakers, and then channel 4 are your starboard swim deck speakers, sorry. And also one thing to note, the speakers inside the boat, channels 1 and 2, the 4 speakers are wired in parallel down to 2 ohms, so take that into consideration when choosing an amplifier. So let's get this wired up here. Be sure you get your positive and then your negative with the black stripe correct. You will not break anything if you get them backwards, but it may sound a little funny with the reverse polarity. All right, so now we have our 1 pigtail harness connected. Let's move on to our other side. This amp, depending if you need to extend your remote wire or not, you may need to cut this off. So this one I'm actually going to cut off since this goes into here and we don't need to extend it. And you'll know this says amp turn on, if you can see that in small text there. and give it a good tug, make sure it's good in there. Now for this amp, our amp integration harness has options for 3 different zones. All 3 zones may not be compatible for your boat, depending if you have a subwoofer or tower speakers. On this 222, it only has the 4 inside speakers and the swim deck speakers, no subwoofer, so we're only going to use zone 1 and zone 2. You only need some short RCAs here, nothing too long. Makes it easier to keep wiring a bit cleaner without having all that extra wires. Plug in our RCAs. Plug in the RCAs on the other side here. And ditto for zone 2. All right, so we're going to go into the helm and get this amplifier installed. All right, now that we have our amplifier all wired up, we will need to disassemble the old amplifier. We'll need to take off the cover, remove the power wires, and remove the plugs. First step, make sure your battery's off. We already have done that. This process is going to be similar for many different boats, so do a double check that you do not have live power here. Take your multimeter, put the leads on there, make sure you're showing 0 volts. If for some reason you can't shut it off, take 1 wire off at a time, use some electrical tape, cover up the wires and reattach them 1 at a time. But I would definitely make sure that you do not have power going to them unless there's no workaround whatsoever, which we have not come across. So our next step is there is a cover plate in here that has 2 screws on this HTX amplifier. We need to go ahead and remove that. As you can see, we're working with a pretty full helm in here. But the amplifier is high enough off, and we'll still be able to get this install done even with everything in here. And if you can note, there are no additional controls here. The newer Hertz amplifiers do have controls under the plate, but on these WetSounds amplifiers, there are no additional controls. They are fully locked by this DSP port, which only can be modified by a WetSounds technician. So that's why we're replacing this today. So now that we got this plate removed, we can go ahead and unscrew our power wires. They are a simple Phillips head screwdriver. And we can remove our harness plugs. So press down at the clip at the top, this simply comes out. On this plug here, there is a clip on the back side. Let's move these power wires out of the way. On the back side of this clip, you can lift it up and pull out. Our amplifier is fully unplugged right now. So let's go ahead and connect up our new amplifier. For the sake of time and keeping this video short, we're going to leave the boring stuff out. We're not going to unscrew this amplifier. We will do that at a later point, but this one will mount up right next to it, and we'll do that off video. So we have our power and our ground here. So make sure they're nice and loose so we can put our power wires in here. All right. Again, I'm doing everything outside of the helm here. If you can avoid going inside of there, it is a bit tight, and especially here in the hot and humid Florida, you will come out drenched in sweat. So if I can keep my head out, I will. Hooking up our power and ground. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Give it a good tug. All right. So now, we set the amplifier up here. We have our plugs to connect. So, our speaker plug coming in here, you can tell the wires match. You'll have a white, gray, purple, green. These plugs are unique to each other, so you cannot mess this up. We will simply plug those together. That is done. And then with our T-harness, we have both a male and a female. For this one, we are only going to use the female plug. And click that there. If you notice, my remote wire did come loose, so it was not tight enough. I'm actually going to strip that back and do that a little bit further. Give that a good tug again. It looks good to go. So at this point, everything's plugged in. It is a bit sloppy. I fully understand it, and I appreciate a good install, but I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. Next steps, we're going to go ahead and mount this up, and then we're going to keep our controls over to the side so we can adjust our controls. But yeah, this is it. Outside of our controls, this amplifier is installed, ready to go. We just need to do some testing and then make sure all our settings are correct. But I don't know what the time was on this, but we've probably got this done in under 20 minutes. All right, so we've hooked up our amplifier, we turned our batteries back on, we turned everything on, everything's good to go. One thing I want to talk about is the settings on amplifiers. This is generic settings. It's going to differ for your application, but a great place to start for your amplifiers, especially doing a fresh install, is making sure your high pass filters are set for your speakers. This will only allow high frequencies to go to your speakers, and then set them around 80 hertz. Now, if you do have a subwoofer, you're doing like a 252 or a 255 or one of the Malibu boats with subwoofers, same idea, except you want to do a low pass filter and around 80 hertz. Again, that is not gospel, but just a great starting point and pretty generic place for most installers to start. Make sure your gains are all the way down, and then work on your gain settings from there. There are multiple different ways and varied opinions. Some people speak strongly on how to do their gains, and they'll argue all day one way or another. I'm not going to talk about gains. I will post a link directly from JL Audio of how they recommend to set your gains. But if you come up to the screen here, you can see that everything is currently working. We have full zone control. Zone control, so we could still control everything here. Our swim deck speakers, if you're back there, you'd hear them drop off. So this is a perfect match. We have the aftermarket amplifier installed in here. Full control through the connects. No cutting the wires. That's it. Enjoy your music on the boat. Alright, so I thought we were done with our last part, but this boat is turning out really well, and we're really happy with how it's sounding. We still haven't mounted anything up yet. We're still doing our settings. But even on our lower settings with the gains at about 20%, we noticed the speakers were rattling, actually one specifically, and this is typical to your Yamaha quality. Once we start getting some bass to these speakers, we noticed this speaker here was not screwed down all the way. So two of the screws on the left, we actually had to tighten down a bit more to prevent the rattle. Kind of what you expect from Yamaha, unfortunately. But now that it's fixed, this boat does have quite a bit of bass compared to what it did before. It still will not replace a true subwoofer, but it sounds significantly better. And let's go back to our old track. I wish we had a video of it before. We'll play a little bit of music and we'll see if you can actually hear the bass on this. I'm not sure if you will. It is an iPhone camera, so who knows. but it's a massive upgrade from before, and we're only in this for about $300 in parts.
This hotel, there's a party in that lobby. But careful who you mess with, cause the hotel everybody. Miami where all that ass from, and the girlfriend's got one too. It's my birthday, baby, but I wanna see you in her in your birthday suit. She was like, hey, she was like, yo, she was like bowling, she was like, so. Wanna hit BTs, wanna hit Scarlett's, wanna hit Tootsies, baby, let's go. She was doing like, I'm talking about killer. I put her on the mic, beat it up like Thriller. She the best friend, said bring one more. A little bad one, you already know. Let's go.
I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's a significant upgrade. The speakers aren't nearly as trebly, and the bass is significantly improved out of these. We have them set to around 80 hertz, and our gains are still set pretty conservatively. There's more we can get out of this amplifier and this system. We'll do some more tuning, but this will be the last part of our video. Enjoy your day, enjoy your boat, enjoy your system.